What is going on, everyone? It's your boy Shad, and thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that button, and on your way out, hit that like button as well. So I am really inspired for today's video by tonight's airing of the docu-series featuring the Chicago Bulls' last championship run. And if you guys don't know, that's airing tonight on ESPN at 9 p.m. Eastern. And this is not a plug, not sponsored or anything like that. I am just really excited about this. And I feel like this is one of the last chances for people to really get a sense of understanding around our generation of basketball fans, Chicago Bulls fans, Michael Jordan fans, to understand the nostalgia when we celebrate his airness, the greatest basketball player to ever live, and also just really understand how excellent of a team the Chicago Bulls were. You had Scottie Pippen, you had Tony Kukoc, you had Dennis Rodman, you had Steve Kerr. I mean, you had a great team, man. Phil Jackson leading one of the greatest organizations in sports history. Like, this was a great time. And there's a couple of stories. There's actually a couple of stories that happened during that time in my life. One of my biggest regrets, one, and then two, just like kind of leads into the spawning of my sneaker enthusiasm, my sneaker collection. And that's why I wanted to do this video with you guys, to share those two stories, because I'm super excited for one, I'm super excited for tonight. Two, it kind of takes me on a trip down memory lane, if you will. So I'll get started with the first story. 1998, this was my sophomore year of high school. Actually, 97, 98, my sophomore year of high school. I was 15 years old, just turned 15 years old. I did not have a sneaker collection of any kind. I didn't own any Jordans. I have never owned a pair of Jordans at the time. I was just a big fan of the Chicago Bulls, of Michael Jordan. I did like sneakers, but I knew my parents were not going to be buying me Jordans, so it wasn't even something that I even talked about. But it was something that I really wanted. I actually had some Jordan brand gear. I had like a jersey, some shorts, some hooping shorts back in the day, but it was never the shoes. So my sophomore year, I think it was towards November, December, the Bulls were coming to Phoenix. I live in Arizona, but they were going to Phoenix to play the Suns. And I had a friend who was he was a basketball player. He was a varsity player on the team, and he was a good friend of mine. And he had actually invited me to go to the Chicago Bulls game in Phoenix, but it meant that we would have had to have ditched school. And me being the person that I was really kind of like I don't want to say a goody two shoes, but I didn't ditch school. I was in the books and things like that. So, I didn't even bother to ask my parents or anything like that, because I knew it would be a no. So I declined the invitation. And so, I missed the only opportunity that I've had in my life to watch Michael Jordan play, and what would have been his last season as a Chicago Bull. So that's always stuck with me, all this time. Like, I had a chance to watch Michael Jordan play, for possibly the last time as a Chicago Bull. And, that's a big regret. That is just one thing that just looms over my head. I mean, granted, he did come back to play for the Wizards, but we all know that was totally not the same. There were no championship runs, but that's that story. And then two was with the actual shoe, the Jordan 14. So I have the last shots up here. I actually got these. I believe this was the second release in 2013, 2014. I can't remember the year these dropped. I know these originally re-released in 2005 with the 20th anniversary of the Jordan brand of Air Jordan. And I actually had 3 pairs of the last shots at the time. I think I sold 2 and kept 1, and then I beat them up, and then I sold them, and then I came back and I got these, and these are kind of actually beat a little bit too. I wear these. 14s are one of my favorite shoes. We know the 97, 98 season Jordan was wearing the 13s, and then you see in the playoffs he's wearing the 14s, and I love this shoe. I think this is just pretty much a shoe that's gonna remain in my collection. You know, people talk about like shoes that you have to have in your collection and has to stay in your collection. I think this is one of those shoes for me. It was my same friend who invited me to the Suns and Bulls game that actually gave me my first pair of Air Jordans ever, and it happened to be the white and red, aka candy cane, whatever you call them, 14s. Those were my first pair of Air Jordans my junior year of high school. So the Bulls had already won the championship. That season had already been over. You know, that shoe had already been out. So he only wore the shoe one time, I think, during a game. And then he didn't want them and he gave them to me. That was the biggest deal for me because I think I wore the shoes the next day and everybody was like, oh, he got the Jordans on. He's got the kicks on. Like, people were like, who didn't even know me were coming up, those are dope, nice shoes, I like your kicks. So I think from that moment on was kind of like, okay, the sneaker game is where it's at. Like, this is where I'm gonna get my confidence. This is where I'm gonna shine, is with the sneakers. So that was that moment for me. You know, so the 14s mean a lot to me in so many different ways. My man Luke, if you're watching, you're probably not, but shouts out to you, man. He is a good friend of mine. He's been a good friend of mine throughout the years, and I don't know if he even remembers this story, but this was a moment for me that I was really proud. So, you know, the 14s are a special shoe in my life. The last run for Michael Jordan, you know, the candy canes being my first pair of Air Jordans I ever received. You know, so there's a lot of good memories from that time period, you know, and as a basketball fan of that era, this is like the icing on the cake. This is the top of the top for me. This is the defining moment of the 90s. You know, this is the Beatles breaking up for me. This is, you know, just that last trip down memory lane. I am just really gonna be tuned in to this docu-series. I hope you guys are too. I'm gonna actually hold a little viewing party with the family this evening. You know, gonna maybe order some pizza, all hang out, sit around and just talk about it. This is why for me, like, the sneaker game goes hand in hand with a lot of things that happened in my life, because I can tell a story. It's like music for me. Like, you can look at a shoe and you can tell a story behind that shoe. So that's where that passion comes from, and that's why I love the sneaker game so much, man. And you know, there's a lot of people who share that same enthusiasm, and there's a lot of people who don't understand that as well. So, you know, that's what makes me want to do these videos, is just share my love of the sneakers and kind of tell my story around it. But that's all I have at this time. I want to thank you guys so much once again for tuning in. I appreciate the love. You know, until the next time, I'll catch you guys. Y'all be easy. Peace.